So as of right now, the cube or the package has a light side, it has a medium side, and it has a shadow side. You want to compare the shadow that's on the box to the shadow that's falling onto the ground plane, because in some places the cast shadow is darker than the form shadow, and in other places the form shadow is darker than the cast. So when you're doing your shading, you want to shade neatly, and that's why I wanted you to see this. And I'm shading back and forth. Usually I shade one way with my pencil stroke, although you can shade multiple ways. You just don't want it to be too erratic unless it's very intentional. Otherwise, you're going to create a piece that doesn't have unity, and it's going to end up looking sloppy instead of expressive. So I am looking at the photo reference. I always have that photo reference clipped near where I'm working. And you guys, I've talked to a lot of you about this, but it's important that it's clipped close to where you're working. That way your eye doesn't have to travel as far from your photo to your actual drawing. And there's a little bit of a light spot there. I think it's a reflection from the ribbon, so I'm leaving a gap there. And you just want to treat the foreground with the same kind of care that you actually treated the package with. You don't want to skip any area and be rough or too fast with areas that you don't feel are important. The whole thing is important. There are areas, though, that you want to bring into higher focus, like the focal area. So the focal area is the most important area of a drawing. It's the most interesting area. So when I'm looking at that package, probably the bow is the most important, and then that top plane of the package. The package itself is, of course, the main focal, but within that space, it's the ribbon that catches the eye. And you want to make sure that your ground plane has a gradient to it, that it's lighter on the left side and darker to the right, but it's just a subtle change. And we've been talking a lot about ombres. This is what I'm talking about too. Gradient and ombre, they're interchangeable words. So on the form shadow side, there's also an ombre happening where it's actually lighter in the lower left-hand corner and darker in other areas. So you have to be sensitive to that. And remember, when you're doing your shading, it's all about pressure. It's very important that you hold your pencil far back, that you're not holding it too close to the point, or you won't be able to get neat shading like you're seeing here. One other thing that I wanted to caution you guys about, that it's also very important that you don't have a heavy outline. A heavy outline will equal a flat form. You want that outline to just disappear in places. That's why it's so important that we start talking about soft edges and hard edges, and you know where to put those soft edges and where those hard edges should be. So at this point in the drawing, it's all about finessing and making sure the value relationships are correct. I'm going to, as the next stage, I'm going to be softening more edges even more, and I'm going to address the background and work on the cast shadow a little bit more. So it's not done. There's a lot of work. And you're also erasing out the highlights.